Becca here, and I am bringing you one of Michelle's patterns. This one is called Waverly. For this pattern, I used my skinny flexi looms, and I did 112 pegs, but you can use your KB all-in-one or your multi-loom. For the yarn, Michelle had designed this yarn specifically to kind of use up some Lion Brand shawl in a cake or shawl in a ball, or a similar thinner, 3 or 4 weight yarn. For the yarn, I did use a shawl on a cake. I apologize, I don't have the label. I bought this on clearance without the label. But the color that I used is called Restful Rainbow. And as you can see, I used about half of a cake for my cowl. And my cowl ended up being, it's about 15 inches wide and about 9 inches tall. All right, let's walk through the pattern. This pattern can be done in multiples of 14 in the round, which I did, but it can also be done in flat panel. It would be multiples of 14 plus 4, so that would give you 2 pegs on each side for a clean edge. You can cast on any fashion you like, but I use the no hook crochet cast on. With this pattern, we're going to start off with 3 sets of garter for the bottom. So that's, 1 row of knits, 1 row of pearls, and then 3 sets of that. The pattern comes with written instructions as well as a chart. You will see here that there are knits, pearls, yarn overs, and knit 2 togethers. We will be using rows 1 and rows 3 to set up for row 2 and row 4. If you haven't casted on and done your 3 sets of garter, you can pause your video now and do that. Otherwise, let's start going through the pattern. I have already done my 3 sets of garter. I am on row 1. Today I'm just going to be doing a small sampling here for you. So let's start off with row 1. So row 1 is going to start off with 7 knit stitches and 7 purl stitches. And actually, when we get to those purl stitches, we are actually going to purl pegs 8, 9, and 10. But then that's when we're going to start moving our stitches. We're going to move the stitch from peg 9 to 10. And then we're going to keep doing that for the last few here, 11 to 12, and then 13 to 14. So let's walk through that now. All right, so as I mentioned, we are going to start off with 7 knit stitches. So we'll go ahead and we will do that. And I am using the U knit stitch. All right, and then this is when we're going to start with our purl. So on peg 8 here, it's just a purl. And then we're going to purl peg 9 and peg 10. All right. We're going to pull a little slack on peg 10 here, and then pull a little slack then on 9, and then move the stitch from 9 to 10. All right, and we're just going to repeat that here on 11 and 12. Purl both stitches, and then we're going to pull a little slack and move the stitch from 11 to 12. All right, one more time. Pull a little slack. All right, move that stitch. All right, so then we're back to then 7 knit stitches. All right, then we're in on a set of pearls here. First one is just a pearl. All right, pull a little slack. All right, move your stitch. Purl the next two. All right, pull the little slack. Move your stitch. And then the last two pearls. All right, pull a little slack, move the stitch. All right, and that gets us, oops. All right, that gets us back to our first peg. All right, so then with our row 2 here, it's just gonna start off with some knit stitches until we get to our empty peg, and then we'll be doing our yarn over and our knit 2 togethers. All right, let's get started with those knit stitches. All right, oops, one more. All right, that first one is just a knit. And then we're going to come to our empty peg. So this is going to be our first yarn over, and you'll see here I have 2 stitches, so that's going to be our knit 2 together. So we're going to place the yarn loosely in front of the peg, or both pegs, and then we'll do our yarn over and then our knit 2 together. And you can lift both at the same time, one at a time, whatever works best for you. And then we'll have our empty peg, knit 2 together, place the yarn loosely in front of both pegs, and then do our knit 2 together. One more time with that. All right, and then it's knitting again. Seven stitches. All right, and then we're in the next set of 7, which starts off with 1 knit. And then we'll have our empty peg and our knit 2 together, yarn loosely in front of both, and then do our knit 2 together. Another set. And our last set. All right, and that brings us back to our starting peg. So then we're going to start off with row 3. So for row 3, we're going to start off with some pearls, 7 knits. But you'll see here that we're going to use this, we're going to start off by moving things right away here. So we're going to knit the first 2 pegs, and then we're going to move the stitch from the second peg back to the first. And then we're going to continue that, knit 2, and then move. So let's start that. All right. Again, purl those 2 pegs. But with the second stitch now, we're going to move it from the second stitch to the first stitch. Tighten that a little bit. All right, let's do that again. Move the stitch from the second to the first, tighten that a little bit. Okay, one more time. Tighten that a little bit. And then our last one here is just going to be a purl. All right, so then the next set of 7 is just our knit stitches. So let's go ahead and do those. All right, and then that's going to bring us to our next set of purls. So we're going to purl the first 2. And then that second stitch, we're going to move to our first and tighten that a little bit. All right, let's repeat that again. Purl both stitches. And move the second to the first and tighten just a little bit. One more time. All right, then that last stitch in the group is just a purl. All right, so then we're back to our 7 knits. All right, then that brings us to end of that round. So let's look at row 4. So row 4 is going to start off with a knit 2 together and yarn overs. All right. So with this one, I am going to lay my yarn loosely in front of these 2 pegs here and do my knit 2 together on that first peg. And then I'm going to lay my yarn in front of the next knit 2 together and do that one. And then lay my yarn in front of the yarn over and then the last knit 2 together here. And then an empty peg, yarn over. And then the last stitch in that group, we're just going to knit over. All right, so then we come to our 7 knit stitches. All right, and then that brings us to our next group of knit 2 togethers and yarn overs. So again, lay your yarn loosely in front of the pegs. So then we can do the knit 2 together. And then lay your yarn in front of the next knit 2 together. All right, one more time. All right, then the last yarn over. And the last peg in this group is just a knit. Okay, all right, then let's finish off with our 7 knit stitches. And that is going to bring us back to our starting peg. All right, so you're just going to continue on repeating those 4 rows that we just went through for whatever length that you want your project to be. And then at the end, you're going to repeat that 3 set of garter just like you did in the beginning. And then you will do your super stretchy bind off. Happy looming!